it sucking? I have to go to work on Fridays now.
Ugh.
Hey, look at that. Live on the first try. What do you know? There is Mr. Gamut.
Mhm.
It's the party crew.
Party time.
Excellent.
If Guy makes it, is another story. He might have fell asleep.
Dave's World. Dave's World.
Party on.
Excellent. How you doing tonight, Mr. Gamut?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
It's been busy. This thing called work gets in the way.
Oh, so annoying.
Yeah. People expect us to do things in order to make money. I don't like it.
Neither do
Exactly.
I. We have the technology and resources so that no one should ever have to work. And we should all be
Mhm.
able to pursue just all kinds of other things. Now, if your pursuit involves developing new technologies, great. But there's no reason why we should all have to work and work and work just to survive.
Yep.
Correct.
What we should all be doing is just laying around like my cats.
Right. Occasionally play, sometimes groom ourselves. Ben, you have no reason to do a face palm there because I did not say lick our butts. Now you get to face palm.
Eric, gotta get Eric with a screenshot when he does that.
Yeah. Yeah, just have it replace the Picard one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Man, that was a great afternoon.
Big show. You guys were.
Afterwards.
Oh,
Yep, yeah, after I got done with my 2 p.m. Thing I had to do, I went and took a walk. Well, it was 60 degrees, so
I saw the photo you posted of the river with no
yeah,
ice.
yeah, no ice. On the what was it 20, yeah, 22nd of February. That's insane.
Yeah. Yeah. We had rain today.
that was a great picture too at the port of the port.
Yeah. And next week's gonna be hilarious.
70, close to 70 next week, I saw.
Yeah. Next Tuesday, it's gonna be in the 70s.
Yeah. Same here.
Next Wednesday, it's going to snow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
the
Hey,
forecast is
Brian.
going right from summer to winter, just bypassing spring.
Yep.
So,
yep.
Brian, how you doing, man?
Up, Brian. It's looking like it's gonna be just us, which is just fine with me.
Are you saying Guy was having a vision problem? He couldn't see himself showing up
But bump.
too soon?
Maybe not. It's been a while.
Well, we have Jeff dropping the mic there.
Well, give him 2 more minutes and we'll get started.
All right, so I have to tell you, kind of screwed up on timing things today.
Mhm.
'Cause I decided that I really need to wash the couch cushion covers. I have an IKEA couch, so you just unzip them, throw them in the wash, and they've gone from my old place through a move into my new place. I'm like, holy crap! I just really need to clean these.
Yep.
Threw them in the wash, pull them out, get ready to throw them in the dryer. And for some reason, I thought I should just double check the tag. And luckily, I washed them correctly. But you can't put them in the dryer.
Well, that's
So
fun.
this afternoon, I'm pulling these covers out of the washer, thinking, throw them in the dryer. By the time the show starts, I will have already put the couch all the way back together. Oh no, I don't get to have a couch again until sometime tomorrow. At least I live in Colorado where it's dry,
Yeah.
so the covers will be dry tomorrow.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't have a
Knock
couch
on
for
wood.
tonight.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Let me get started recording here and we'll get started.
Still love how the OK button is dangerously close to leave meeting.
I know, it's so ridiculous.
And since it's not a proper app, you can't just hit return to accept the dialogue. You have to click on it. So why even bother making the button highlighted as if it's a default choice?
Yeah. Backmap zoom. I could do AI companion. You have AI in here now.
Oh, well, you'd think the AI would know that you're trying to click OK and just do it for you.
That's right. Okay, I am ready. If you are. All right, do it. In 5, 4, 3, 2. Welcome to episode 294 of In Touch with iOS, the show that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and Ben Rathick's back on the show. How you doing, Ben? Glad you're here.
I'm doing great, Dave. It's I can't complain with 60-degree weather well, it would be now late February.
Yeah, we're usually in the 20s.
Yeah.
Also here, Jeff Gammett. How you doing, Jeff?
I'm doing great, and I can't believe just how warm it is for Ben, because that's just not right.
Well, it's warm here. 60 plus degrees is more this afternoon here. So
We were supposed to hit 60 today, and we got up to like 42.
Yeah.
we're having in the
Yeah.
But
So
don't worry,
Jeff,
seasonable.
we'll hit those temperatures in a couple days.
Yep.
Yeah, well,
So Jeff wanted to drive around with his windows down, and I actually got to.
Yeah, that's about right. Yep.
Yep. So let's go and talk about Apple like we always do here. There's a beta this week. There's all kinds of stuff. We're going to hit a little bit on the battery life of an iPhone. Haven't talked about that in a while. There was a pretty massive outage as we record this today. We're going to hit on that because that was kind of scary. Lots of news and, all the fun discussions that we always end up having every week on this show. But let's go ahead and start like we always do in the topics and beta. Apple did see the fourth beta of iOS 17.4 and iPad OS 17.4 to developers as well as its public. That was released a couple days ago. Running through these updates. Same stuff. Really haven't seen anything yet. I'm assuming you've got it all lock and loaded, Ben. Is there anything changed since between beta 3 and beta 4?
Not seeing any real changes, but the one thing I did notice, they are an A build, which means we should be getting really close to the next updates being out in the wild.
Yeah,
I would
we'll
expect
talk about.
next week should probably be in RC.
Yeah, I would think so. I would bet the March timeframe. We'll talk about that just a bit. So as well as we had tvOS and watchOS had their updates as well. Nothing really notable when it comes to that. And yeah, and then of course Vision OS is. I have to report Vision OS now. I gotta get used to that. That's a new thing now. Vision OS 1.1, that beta is out as well. I don't think that's a third beta. I don't think there was anything of real notable as far as any changes we talked about last week. The beta notes say the users can now reposition volumetric scenes closer than they could before, enabling easier direct interaction with the volumetric scene content. Means objects can be placed closer to you. Ooh. And then they have done some improvements on the persona, which everybody has been definitely shaking their heads how awful it looks. So, but hopefully we get to see how people look with this improvements on the Vision Pro. But as I mentioned, yes, it looks like iOS 17.4 is going to be coming next month in March as we record this. So we did talk about a lot of the stuff that is going to be added, and I don't have to beat this to death because the changes to the App Store in the EU, we know that's the biggest thing that's going to happen. Alternative app marketplaces, so companies like Epic Games will be able to create their own app and marketplace on the iPhone, and the browser engines and the WebKit changes and all kinds of crazy stuff. But notably, the stolen device protection improvement, there are going to be some improvements on there. Allow you to choose to always require a security delay when changing the security settings, where previously the only option was to enable the delay when you were away from familiar locations. The transcription Apple Podcast, I still haven't had to try that yet. Have you had any opportunity to try that, Ben, with your Apple Podcasts?
Not quite yet. I have seen it show up in a couple podcasts. Yep. But really haven't dug much into it.
Yep. And Siri has been upgraded to in 17.4. It's going to support reading messages in additional languages. Just the assigned language used for Siri and all other tasks. You can make some changes in there. Come on, let's do some more than just that when it comes to that. I guess the Vision Pro, they're going to add a thing called ignore double tap. So when this is on, you'll be able to, the double tap gesture will be temporarily ignored while using the Vision Pro. Then the welcome screen, I guess, has got a little bit of changes. Battery health changes. CarPlay upgrades, which I've been anxiously waiting to see where that goes. I haven't noticed anything. I haven't really used it in my car just yet because as always, I don't put it on my production iPhone. So, and lots of other things we've talked about that is going to be coming here soon. So I'll get some improvements and of course, security updates and bug fixes and all that fun stuff. So looks like we've got another good beta and it's gone, and then we're going to be able to go ahead and look at that update here. So moving on to the next topic here is iPhone battery life. It's always been the topic everybody talks about, and Apple just recently has been talking about optimized battery charging. And I've got some links to some of the support articles that have been talking about it. With this version, they actually added this since iOS 13 and later. Your phone will now has been learning how to your daily charging habits to improve the lifespan of your battery. And we know the whole thing is with the chemical, related to its chemical age, not just the length of how long the battery was assembled, and the way it adjusts all kinds of variables when it comes to that. Apple, especially in the iPhone 15, gives you the ability to actually choose from optimized battery charging at the 80% limit and to none. So you can go into those settings and make those changes. And I was kind of concerned about that. I don't know, and you guys have you set that to 80%? I mean, the optimized limit. I don't know if the older iPhones have that option. I have 15, of course.
Yeah, I have it set on my 12 Pro and on my Apple Watch 8. And for the most part, it just does its thing transparently. Never notice it, except occasionally it will fail to properly charge my watch because it's waiting to do the optimized thing. And so I'll get up in the morning, go to put my watch on, and it's at like a 25% charge.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's close.
Yeah, because it had gone the whole day and all night without charging.
Ah, okay. Okay. Ben, you have it set as well. Are you utilizing that?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it's important. The other link I have in the show notes here is an actual support article about understanding the performance in relation to your battery and how to maximize your performance and all that stuff. So, Apple's got to put all these disclaimers in for battery health because it's always been the contention of complaints from many people that the battery life has never been that great. And what Apple really did was that this was just new this week is they actually increased the iPhone 15's advertised battery lifespan. And what Apple did announce this week is that it's relisted the batteries in all the iPhone 15 models and determined that they're able to meet a higher bar. This is in a support document that was updated this week that says the batteries in the iPhone 15, 15 Plus, 15 Pro, and Pro Max are designed to retain 80% of their original capacity at 1,000 complete charge cycles under ideal conditions, compared to the 500 charge cycles it advertises for the older iPhone models. And they actually, this is a Mac Rumors article. They talked to Mac Rumors and its latest testing, and it says the iPhone 15 models involve charging of discharging of the battery 1,000 times under specific conditions, but it did not provide any exact details. Go figure. That and the relation to this means that it could take longer for the maximum battery capacity of the 15 models to decline to 80% compared to previous models. However, Apple says it's investigating, quote unquote, that battery lifespans of older iPhone models. So a comparison based on the latest testing parameters remains to be seen. So you always got to question what Apple's going to do when it comes to battery life. What do you think, Jeff, on this with batteries? It's like it's an art form. You just have to figure out what's the best methods of how you charge your iPhone and how you use it. Everybody's different.
I like that you called it an art form because it is. No one's running a stock iPhone.
No.
And the only way to do that is to run it in a lab, and that's not happening. So, Apple, I think, is doing a good job of taking what amounts to a supercomputer that you carry in your pocket and making it run for a long time. And sure, there are other phones that have that that will let you use the phone longer between charges, but in most cases, they're doing that by putting a physically bigger battery into a phone case.
Yep.
So, yeah, if if the only reason you don't want an iPhone is because you don't like the battery life, well, get ready to be disappointed everywhere because you're probably not going to like the battery life on any phone you use in real world conditions.
No, that's for sure. What about you, Ben?
I'm very much in favor of this. As of as of the last couple of years, it's been pretty obvious that iPhone lifespans have increased considerably over their predecessors.
Yep.
The 2-year cycle is long gone, and a 3-year cycle is probably ideal at this point.
Yeah.
So if we're looking at a device that can now last 4, maybe 5 years, that's gonna save some people from going and spending $100 at an Apple store.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
Hey, Ben, I have a question for you because
42.
you and I think we have the same phone.
I have the 12 Pro Max.
Okay, I have the 12 Pro. And I just checked. I'm still on my original battery, and maximum capacity is 84% now.
Yeah,
But
mine's
it's
been
still
on
actually
service for a couple of months now.
okay. And it's probably luck of the draw that you hit that before I did. But still, here we are on the iPhone 15. You and I have a 12 Pro or something from the 12 Pro line, and we're still on the original battery.
Yeah.
Try and do that with other phones.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah.
I'm curious because I have this 10R, which is a pretty old phone. I haven't looked at the battery life as of late here. what mine is, what this one's set at, but yeah, it's definitely interesting how batteries actually uh, hold off and see how they work, because it's you just don't know what it's going to do.
Mhm.
And I'm just taking a look here to see what the battery health here is on this X10R here. Um, and yeah, I think it's close to 80% here. So definitely interesting to see how these older phones are going to actually work through the battery life. But like I said, it's take a look at some of these articles. It'll help you along, those of us listening here, that will give you some tips on how to manage your battery life, because it tells you. I mean, Apple's done such a great job of putting the charts in there and telling you what apps are really eating up battery life. You know, if you use Facebook a lot, that's probably one of the most notorious apps that sucks up battery life, and we all get addicted to that. And I believe TikTok probably does that too, because family member who spends lots of time on TikTok and always complains about the phone, her battery not lasting very long. I'm not making mention any names here, but but I think TikTok is another notorious app of eating up battery life, because you just get consumed with all the content that's on there. So I don't think there's any other apps. Like the Mail app probably tends to do a little bit on the battery. On the iPhone. Any apps you guys think of that might be hitting it harder than it should?
If you're doing audio or video editing on your iPhone,
Oh yeah,
that'll take a hit right
Yeah.
there.
YouTube.
yeah.
Oh,
YouTube's
yep,
another app.
YouTube.
Yeah,
Yep,
you can
yep.
spend hours on there too, or
And
any streaming service too. I mean, honestly,
and people need to keep in mind, it's not just the apps, it's the environment. So if you're in an area where cell service is spotty, your battery is going to drain faster because your phone's
oh,
working more to try
that's
and
right.
find a signal.
Yep, that's right. Um, so take a look at those tips. I think there's some good things in there to really talk about to really talk about when it comes to this stuff. So. Uh, The other thing I found a little interesting here, and wanted it's more along a tip, but it was a good topic this week, is do we really know how much free space is on your iCloud drive? I always tend to wonder what it is there. I don't tend to have to worry about it because I have a family plan that has 2 terabytes. Although I'm starting to look at the numbers starting to increase in my family here. I think we're well over a 1 terabyte, at least close to 1.5. So soon enough, people's photos, as they keep adding more and more, it's going to start accumulating. But it's good to really know how to find out what's taking up all that space. So the way you go to do that is you go under settings and then go to iCloud, and then you manage your storage. And you'll see a chart at the top, and it'll show the highest breakdown. I can guarantee the top 2 things are going to be is iCloud photos and iMessage and messages, because everybody saves all their messages and everybody saves all their videos and photos and everything that's been sent into the into messages, and those tend to really suck up space. I think I saw someone's phone. Someone had something on it, something like 3 or 4 terabytes, or not terabytes, gigabytes of data that was sucking up space just on iMessages alone.
Mhm.
So the other thing too is if you're doing backups, that's the other thing. If you see multiple backups, maybe you've replaced your iPhone recently, or your iPad for that matter, delete it, get rid of it. It doesn't need to be there, because that just takes up your iCloud space too. Because not everybody is on the high plan like I am. You might be on the 50 gig plan, or you might be on the 200 gig plan, and it eats it up pretty quick. Anybody that's still on the 5 gig plan, shame on you. You should be on at the very least 50 gigs. It'll give you at least enough comfort level that you got your things backed up. Every time, I think all of us here get people complaining about, I don't have any iCloud space. I don't have things being backed up on this. You want to go through the whole hassle of having to plug it into your computer and back it up in through the Finder on uh, uh, on your Mac, or God forbid Windows, backing it up that way, uh, or even using, like we've always talked about, iMazing is another way you can do it. If you really want to, if you're really not techie enough that you want to get into that regiment, sure, go for it, because iMazing is an amazing product. That'll give you another redundant way of backing up your iPhone and iPad for that matter. So take a look at that. And as I said, I mentioned with iMessage, get rid of. You can go in the iMessage. It'll allow you to filter it down to what media is in there. Maybe you don't need those videos anymore because a lot of times that things are sent in iMessage are probably silly stuff that you're sending friends stuff to. Do I really need a gigabyte of a video that I don't need to really see anymore?
I just looked at my iMessage storage.
Mhm.
36 gig.
There you go.
What the hell?
What the hell? I haven't even looked at mine lately.
Man, I only have a paltry 8 gigabytes.
Well,
that's
you're doing
that's
it
a world
wrong,
record.
Ben.
Yeah, that's a world record, I think.
Seriously, my backups are 70 gig, but that's a backup for each device, no extra backups. So that one's actually good. But holy crap. Okay, to be fair, it's 35.9 gig. Not
Well, close enough.
So it's not 36, but
Mhm.
still.
We'll
okay,
send you some text, Jeff, so it can go over.
Right?
Well, I'm close to you. I got 9.8 gigabytes, so I got a lot.
And so I'm looking at my conversations, and good news, Dave. You are not a big offender because our conversations only 658.8 meg.
No, that's good.
But then there's Brian Chaffin with 1.45 gigabytes. Yeah.
And what is it, like 5 gigabytes for Kelly?
You know,
we love you, Kelly.
I don't want to incriminate Kelly in any way, so I just won't say how big that conversation is.
It's okay.
I love you, Kel.
We love you, Kelly. So yeah, it's definitely interesting to see how the backups go through there. A couple things you could consider if you wanted to. If iCloud Photo Library isn't important to you, some people may not want to back it up. You could turn it off if you didn't want to. It saves some space. I wouldn't recommend it. Check if you're also automatically backing up your Mac's documents and desktop. Maybe there's some things there you don't really want to be backing up. I mean, it might be just temporary storage, but all three of us here have redundant backups whether we're using Backblaze, we're using Time Machine on the Mac, or any Carbon Copy Cloner I use as well. So
so far you've named 3 of the systems I'm using simultaneously.
Yes.
Yeah. So
yeah, you should be using all 3. If you're not backed up in multiple vectors, you're not backed up.
Yeah. No. Exactly. So I even use ChronoSync. I have another method of backing
ChronoSync is
things up.
good.
Yeah, got that running up another backup, and I also have OneDrive. I also have Dropbox. I have Google Drive. So we're as us geeks are here. We're always very redundant when it comes to backing things up. So, but a lot of people aren't like that. So you don't tend to expect that you're going to be doing that, but it's entirely up to you. Even just pick one cloud service to back up to, I think is more than sufficient. And the ones I just mentioned are really good as an alternative. Unfortunately, when you are using iCloud Drive, a lot of the automatic backups to those other services tend to not work, or you can't do it because iCloud takes it over when the backups there. Like OneDrive, for instance, if I wanted to run that backup, it says, no, you got to turn off iCloud in order for Microsoft OneDrive to do what iCloud does automatically. But what I do is that's what I'm using ChronoSync for. I'm just having it back up that way. Just copy it up to OneDrive that way. So there's ways around it. But the bottom line here is make sure you're backing up your devices, please. I don't like hearing those stories that people can't that they lose all their photos, and that's just not a good thing. And the whole reason of us being redundant too, like we talked about in past shows, where the security, if someone gets a hold of your iPhone and you lose your access to your iCloud drive, that there's your redundancy right there. Make sure you have it in other places. So good stuff. and I think it's a good thing as well when it comes to that. Um, Another thing I thought was interesting this week, Apple did announce this groundbreaking new security protocol for iMessage. They announced it actually yesterday as we record. A new quantum cryptographic protocol for iMessage called PQ3. Apple says this groundbreaking and state-of-the-art protocol provides extensive defenses against even the highly sophisticated quantum attacks. Apple believes that the PQ3 protocol's protections surpass those of other widely deployed message apps, according to their blog post. I'll just read this a little bit here, and it says, today we are announcing the most significant cryptographic security upgrade in iMessage history with the introduction of the PQ3, as we just talked about here, and it's highly sophisticated for quantum attacks, and it's the first messaging protocol that will reach to what they call level 3 security, providing protocol protections that surpass those of in all other widely deployed messaging apps. To their knowledge, they say PQ3 is the strongest security properties of any at-scale messaging protocols in the world. Of course, gotta wonder a little bit of marketing jargon in some of that, but this is great news. I think this is something that always has been a concern, that the protocol hasn't been secure. The SMS in itself has been not secure. There's sending messages all the time, especially you're getting codes to get into your banking and all that stuff. What do you think, Jeff?
I think this is great. And okay, the number of people out there that say that they don't trust Apple because they know they're reading all their messages. Okay, this is another example of Apple showing those people that they're actually wrong. And Apple has gone to great lengths to give us secure messaging. And now they're proactively giving us security for our messaging that goes beyond what current technologies can break. And they're anticipating that as new quantum-based systems come to market, that those won't be able to break through this either. And they also are using this where it's actually rotating the keys. So even if one part of your message chain is cracked, it doesn't stay that way because the keys will change and then they have to start over.
Yep, makes sense. How about you,
This
Ben?
is
What do you
awesome.
think?
Yeah, this is great. What this means is your messages will continue to be encrypted for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, this is great news, and just another thing that Apple does to keep us protected. And I'd love to hear about it. You just
I have
tend
a
to
little
don't
bit
not
to
hear.
add to that.
Oh yeah, go ahead, please.
So you know how over the last several years, there have been instances where government entities have pressured to get Apple to introduce backdoors through security. This is a measure that Apple can take or is taking that completely shuts that down. There's no way to include a backdoor in a system like this.
Yep.
So Apple is positioning themselves to be able to tell any government, sorry, can't help.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. No, that's true.
Yeah, it's especially with certain laws in the that have been passed, like the one in the UK.
Yep. So feel safer that your messages are secure. That's, I think, what we can say to that. Speaking of secure, welcome everybody in the chat this week at youtube.com/intouchwithios. Brian F's in the chat, as well as Brett, and great to see all you guys in the chat. That's always what we're recording live here at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific on Thursday nights. So make sure if you're not here live to come check us out another time. But meanwhile, we got some great people giving us some conversations in the chat. So keep giving us some of the great feedback that you're giving us. So Let's go ahead and move on to one of the big stories of this week was this massive AT&T outage that was today as we record this. Woke up this morning and found out that I guess AT&T has got an outage, and
Mhm.
nobody can make phone calls and nobody can do anything. In fact, the SOS was coming up on their iPhone, realizing that they don't even have service anymore unless they get onto Wi-Fi. But of course, Wi-Fi, you gotta have a service for Wi-Fi, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all day long, AT&T was playing it down. I mean, there's the numbers on the what is that? The name of that down
Down
site
detector.
down detector. That's it. And they're saying maybe 70,000. I said, there's no way. It's got to be more than that. So I found this article here on Cord Cutters News showing the map here of how bad it really was from the time progress here, and it said right around what was it, around 4 a.m. Eastern time. It was showing pretty much the entire U.S. was down, and it just kept progressing across the rest of the day. Looks like the West Coast was making a bit of a comeback around 8 a.m. Eastern time, uh, but it kept going until finally the outage uh, uh, went away after by mid afternoon. So, but it would it didn't affect anybody as far as like if you had your internet, like your AT&T fiber, or even for businesses who have their backup fiber lines that are going into their buildings. So I was at work, no problems.
Mhm.
Our lines were solid, so that it did not affect that. So it was just cellular service. So interesting to see this map also shows T-Mobile and Verizon. It's all green. So, but
There were reports of people on T-Mobile and Verizon saying, "Hey, think
yeah,
my service isn't working."
yeah,
But the speculation is that those people were trying to call someone that had an AT&T phone number,
exactly.
and
Mhm.
that's why it wasn't working.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they did say that it got restored right around 3 p.m. Eastern time today as we record, and it's been fully restored this time because, of course, uh, they didn't really give us a reason why it happened yet, and I don't know when AT&T is going to tell us that. But uh, other interesting side note in the article here is it says to note that Wyoming seemed only didn't have as many problems as based on the data that was showed here. So that if you look on the map, Wyoming is in green. The rest of the country is
Okay,
not. It looks like
so
Yeah.
New Mexico
I,
is orange, but Wyoming is very rural too. So
yes, Wyoming's total population, I think, is the equivalent of Denver's population.
yeah,
And yeah, so it's most likely that the AT&T users in Wyoming, there's just not enough of them for it to
right.
have triggered the hey, we're out of service.
Yeah. I mean, as far as the cause goes, there's nothing so far to say that is malicious. But just in case, the FBI, Department of Homeland Security, and the FCC are all looking into this very thoroughly.
Yeah,
As well they should.
absolutely.
Mhm.
And I'm not saying that there's malicious intent anywhere, but when you have an outage of this size for a nationwide communication system, then everyone needs to take a look at it and figure out where the failure happened and why.
Yeah,
Yeah. And to the point where, I mean, with something like this that takes down one of the major cell phone carriers in a world where cell phones are the predominant communications platform,
yeah.
you have to be absolutely sure this wasn't a state or independent actor in a denial of service attack.
So far they have said it was not any type of cyber attack, but who knows? They still got to keep investigating. But AT&T, come on,
They're
guys, you
going to
just need to be a little
find
more
a missing
transparent.
semicolon on a line of code.
Yeah, most
Yeah,
likely,
That's where
yeah.
my money is.
yeah.
One semicolon took down
But
the entire country.
I think the bigger concern, in my opinion, is the fact that AT&T is one of the biggest networks in the United States, and if not the world. To
Well,
have something like this
it's the
happen,
largest in the United States,
yeah,
not one
it
Yeah.
of,
is.
it's the biggest.
Right, bigger than, yeah, it's number one versus Verizon and T-Mobile. So, but yeah, what's to say this couldn't somebody couldn't get into their network and cause this to be a cyber attack type of thing? So many people were just down today, and it was very frustrating. And plus, that's some people. That's the only means of communication is having that service. They don't
Mm-hmm.
pay for landline
Mhm.
phones anymore. Don't may not even have Wi-Fi. So
Yeah.
so it scares me, honestly.
Yeah.
But just the down detector is a good place to go. Make sure I put a link in the show notes for that. That's a good source of information when anything's down, for that matter. So
Mm-hmm.
so it's definitely something that you want to be checking to make sure that you don't have any big outages that you're dealing with here. So with that, let's hit some of the. Oh, you know what? I completely skipped over a topic that was very important to talk about this week. Let me go back here. That is, Apple did introduce their very own sports app. I was like shocked to see this, and this actually, I believe, came out.
Mhm.
It was today or yesterday as we record. Um, I got a link in the show notes here to this to the App Store preview here, and Apple's now has it says there's a new app that adds to their starting lineup, Apple Sports. It's going to make it fast and easy to keep up to date with your teams. So you're looking at some of their marketing, but then some people have started using it. Ben, you and I both being sports fans, have you had any time to take a look at it yet?
I have. Right now, and Apple admits this very much, it is still under construction.
Yeah.
Because right now it's available in basically the three main English speaking countries, US, Canada, and Great Britain.
Right.
But right now it's pretty much just European sports.
Yeah, so it's kind of not ready for prime time, honestly. But I guess they had to get it released at some point. Um, that
Yeah.
that it was out. So, uh, but yeah,
Yep.
I
And they
I
did
played around with it
say
a little
it
bit.
will
So,
support
go ahead.
they did say it will support baseball by opening day.
Let's hope. Um, so I'm assuming, Jeff, you have not looked at this.
I don't know why you would assume that, but surprisingly, you're correct. But I did know about this happening, and my reaction was, okay, well, the app doesn't have to be the best in the world. It just needs to be good enough. But Apple wants to do better than good enough. But if this is installed by default on your iPhone, then ultimately it doesn't matter how good all of the other sports tracking apps are. Most people will end up using this just because it's there.
Yeah,
And
oh,
Apple
yeah,
does want to be your all-in-one everything.
they do. I will say other
And I do
sports, NHL and NBA are in right now, so though you can get all the scores and stats for those two leagues, as well as, like you said, a lot of the European leagues are there as well. So, but yeah, MLB is not there yet, only because well, actually, it is there, but there's no games. But maybe I don't know if they're even going to cover some of the spring training games, because spring training starts. The first games are tomorrow, so. But it's great to see that that Apple's looking at this, because sports is a big business, and it's something hard to ignore, because and then there's many sports apps I use. I forget to I always forget to which are the ones I use, but just uh, it's there's some are good or some are bad. Sports alerts is the one I use a lot, and that just simple getting scores and stuff. But all the sports leagues have their own apps that you use. MLB and the NFL and the NBA and NHL all have their own apps. But wouldn't you rather have it in one place and be aggregated
Yeah.
instead of going through multiple apps?
I just came up with harebrained hypothesis, which means somewhere out there, Kelly just got a little zing. She's like,
Mhm.
someone has a crackpot theory. What if this is Apple doing real world testing on another element that will be in a HomePod with a display?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Not only that, but I think the sports app is eventually going to take over from the sports tab in the TV app.
Oh, that would be okay, because I would really like to be able to get rid of all the sports tab stuff. Not nothing malicious. It's just I have to click through that to get to the stuff that I actually want to see. Let me customize that.
Yeah, for sure. Couple messages in the chat about this topic. Brett, Brett has said, just what I need, another app to tell me that the San Diego Padres have lost to the Los Angeles Dodgers 14-1 in the first spring training game. And Brian F says, Brett, you, the Padres, and me, the Arizona Diamondbacks, can use that one, and just a it's a zing for the West Coast here, but it's something I think, like you said, like we said at the beginning here, that this is definitely going to be an app I think people are going to look at because it's Apple, and it's something there that people are going to have a quick way of looking at their scores and such. But work in progress, that's for sure. The other news story here. Let's move on to some news here. This was interesting. This has been all over the news this week. Is Apple is declaring that if putting your wet iPhone in rice to dry is a bad move. Apple warns this. They message this week. Ever since cell phones were a thing, we've been dropping them in water, and then while today's iPhones are resistant to splashes and dips and dunks, there's still times where it gets too wet and the dreaded liquid detection alert appears on your screen. For years they've been turning to a simple household staple when we need to save our iPhones from a liquid death: a bag of rice. The method is decidedly low tech. Just pop your iPhone into a bag of rice, seal it up, and wait a day or so. The idea was the rice would draw the water out from inside the phone before it can fry any internal parts. However, the researchers have been claiming for years that it's all a myth, and the rice doesn't actually dry your iPhone faster. It could slow down the process, so leaving your logic board susceptible to further damage. A new 2024 support document from Apple actually advises against using rice to dry out your iPhone, and could make matters worse. And doing it so it could allow small particles of rice that could actually damage your phone. Instead, Apple suggests, and there's a couple number steps here, as far as tapping your iPhone gently against your hand, letting the connector face down to let any excess liquid come out. After 30 minutes, try charging it. If you see the alert then, you wait for 24 hours, let it dry. So the myth has been demystified. So don't use rice, right? What do you think, Ben?
I think that sounds like some pretty good advice. Also, unless you're at a very, very, very old iPhone right now, they've been water resistant for a while.
Yeah, not as bad. How about you, Jeff?
I remember when.
Ah, you whippersnappers.
No, you whippersnappers. I'm doing my guy impression. I remember when I only had 700 microphones back in the Stone Age. No, I remember when we were all being told that rice was the thing, and it was just accepted that that was the fix. And then several years ago, turns out, no, that's not the fix. And so it's good to see Apple putting out, even though they should have done it years ago, maybe, putting out a notice saying, hey, the rice thing actually doesn't help. Don't do it.
Yeah.
So what I'm wondering is why don't we have smartphone drying cases that are basically just silica packs that your phone sits in? Because those things will suck the moisture out of basically anything.
Always have those things in your bag. The new bags you buy with those silica packs.
Right. The ones that they keep telling me not to eat.
Yeah, exactly. Do not eat. So, okay, don't use rice with your iPhone. Just keep it dry. Next story here: Microsoft has shied away from bringing the Xbox titles to the iOS platform it cites monetization concerns. While Microsoft is working on bringing several of its titles to other platforms, iOS may not be the focus in the near future. They were interviewed by The Verge. Microsoft gaming head Phil Spencer noted that the company is expanding beyond its Xbox gaming console and Windows by releasing video games on the Nintendo Switch and Sony PS5, but cites monetization concerns of bringing Xbox to the platform. I'm not really surprised this is going to happen. I think Microsoft's always been pretty resistant to putting any Xbox games, but it looks like they're not doing so well with the gaming platform either. Ben, what do you think? You're the gamer. What your thoughts on this?
Honestly, this hasn't been.
Ben, you said so much with that.
Yeah. Apple's hardware and OS teams have done so much to make the Mac a better gaming platform. And the App Store and developer relation teams are messing that all up. Yeah, I mean, Microsoft, Valve, even Epic, they're the kind of app stores that Apple should be working with because they have credibility. They know they're getting a good platform, but they'd rather get 30% of nothing than strike a deal and make a whole lot of money.
Yeah. How about you, Jeff?
I think that Ben is right, of course. But I think that Microsoft not wanting to bring Xbox titles to iOS right now is something they're doing because they're thinking that they might be able to get the revenue boosts that they want without having to turn to Apple. However, I have a feeling that ultimately they will backtrack on yeah, we're not going to bring Xbox to iOS because the single largest mobile gaming platform is the iPhone.
This is true. Let's go ahead and move on. The first ever iOS Trojan has been discovered, and it's stealing facial recognition data to break into bank accounts. One of the reasons that many people pick one of the best iPhones over the Android counterparts is due to security. But however, this could be changing as the first ever banking Trojan designed to target iPhone users have been spotted in the wild. It's according to a new report here. The Android Trojan Gold Digger has been now modified with new capabilities that makes it easier for this malware to drain victims' bank accounts. First discovered last October of 2023, the Trojan's new variant has been dubbed Gold Pickaxe, with versions specifically designed for both Android and iOS devices. And it says once installed on either iPhone or Android device that the Gold Pickaxe can collect facial recognition data, identify documents, intercept text messages. So is this really something that it's happening? I picked this article. This was in Tom's Guide. But because I haven't seen a lot of press on it, but we know what you have to do to keep your phone for safe from malware, specifically using apps that are from TestFlight that you don't trust. Those are what TestFlight is the platform for developers allow you to be able to try their app before they release it out to the public. So what do you think about this, Jeff?
Okay, so keep in mind when you read a story like this from Tom's Guide, while Tom's Guide does have a lot of really good content, they're very openly anti-Apple.
This is true.
So when they have an opportunity to write an article that puts Apple in a bad light, then they jump on it.
Yep.
And while this is a serious issue, it's a serious issue that almost no one will encounter right now because, as you mentioned, this involves using TestFlight. So you are in essence having to side load apps onto the phone, and and the people that are actually going to be doing this, uh, that's a pretty small percentage of people. And um, and right now, this is targeting uh it's what, like Singapore or something.
Yeah.
It's I can't remember what country this is actually being actively exploited in, but it's it's a it is a very small number of iPhone users that are potentially impacted by this. That said, the fact that it works at all is kind of concerning, and I'm betting that Apple has people that are working overtime to try and figure out a way around this. And as I'm saying this, I'm I have been holding back, but I can't hold back the part where, holy crap,
That's okay.
this is really impressive what they're doing and the technology that they're using to generate basically deep fakes of people's faces.
Right.
That's I mean, that's pretty fracking impressive.
Yeah. How about you, Ben?
Yeah, this is definitely something that Apple needs to uh button up relatively quickly. Um, I do have to hand it to the scumbags. Using parts of the OS that are required for beta testing and deployment in businesses. That's deviously intelligent. But this is one of those things where people trying to use their talents for ill-gotten gains instead of to help make software better. It's just going to make things harder for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's true. So be careful out there. That's all we have to say. Don't use test flight if you're not if you don't like doing developer testing. Just be aware of that because it
Yeah.
could bite you. Next story: Amazon Prime Video has dropped Dolby Vision and Atmos unless you pay extra. And Amazon has confirmed this is not a mistake. Your Prime Video subscription no longer includes Dolby Vision HDR or Dolby Atmos for surround sound. That on top of the ads that it's injected into the service January 29th, earlier this year. Now you have to pay an additional $2.99 a month to remove those ads, and then you can get Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos back as well. This was confirmed by an Amazon spokesperson, and that it is a deliberate move, and the capabilities are only for the ad-free option and on relevant titles. So while price hikes are no longer remotely unusual in the streaming video space, where Netflix now charges $22.99 a month for its 4K tier, it's a bit harder to compare Amazon's prices to Netflix. So interesting what Amazon's been doing. I know, Jeff, you and I have been talking about this when that gosh darn $2.99 thing came up, and now we have to watch ads on Prime. What do you think of this?
I'm paying the extra $2.99 already because it was horrible. I spent 15 minutes after they started this
Mhm.
where it was like, maybe I can put up with this. No, 15 minutes. I'm on my iPhone, $2.99, done. And swearing the whole time. Th- this
Yeah.
is such a bad move on Amazon's part.
It really is.
And my big question is, has the class action lawsuit started yet? And,
I
and I
wonder.
say that actually not in jest, because I
Yeah.
expect that there will be a class action lawsuit that argues that Amazon offered a service, they advertised a service at this price, and these are the features that it has. And then they they changed that and said, actually, that's not what it has. It doesn't have as much as we promised you for the price you're paying. If you want to have what we promised you at the price you're paying, well, now you actually have to pay more instead. And I expect that this one will probably end up in court, unless Amazon chooses to roll it back, change the whole structure and then say, we're doing a price hike of $3 and we will offer a discount version, which will be,
Yeah.
it'll be the exact same thing, but it will be framed differently, and it'll still piss people off, and but it'll work legally. I think right now that I'm no attorney, but I've played one on stage. So my legal opinion is that Amazon went about this in a completely horrible way for customers and from a legal standpoint.
Yep. How about you, Ben?
Honestly, they're just taking a play out of Netflix's book. They've done this before.
Yeah, but Netflix did it the other way, where they raised rates when your contract was due, and so to continue to have the service you had when you renewed, that was a new tier. So they weren't taking features away technically, but yeah, I mean, yes, of course, they're following Netflix's lead and all the other services that have jacked prices and taken away features from
Mhm.
or not included features in lower price points.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I think it really depends on how everything's worded in the end user license agreement.
And it probably says in the end user license agreement that they can choose to change features
anytime.
without notice, and
No notice, all that stuff.
but that won't stop this from going to court.
Oh, it shouldn't.
Yeah, it won't stop it from going to court, but I don't think any class action lawsuit will have much of a chance.
Yeah. It's possible.
Yeah, we'll see. I honestly don't know, but my guess is that at some point they would encounter a judge that says,
Yeah.
just because you're saying we can do a bait and switch on you doesn't mean we can really do a bait and switch on you.
Yep. All right, next story. There was a duo here that was found guilty of trying to defraud Apple of more than $3 million. These two individuals hacked a scheme that involved submitting fake iPhones to Apple for repair in an attempt to get them replaced with real ones, and now they could be jailed for up to 20 years for doing so. I'm not going to mention their names. They're residents of Germantown, Maryland. They were found guilty by a federal grand jury on Tuesday of this week, as we record, for attempted to defraud Apple of millions of dollars worth of iPhones. They were also convicted of conspiracy to commit mail fraud and mail fraud, which is a serious offense. As I mentioned, carry a maximum sentence of 20 years in prison. This is a press release from the DC U.S. Attorney's Office. Between May 2017 and September of 2019, it was found that these co-conspirators and these morons, I'll be able to really say, attempted to obtain genuine iPhones from Apple and then submitting the counterfeit devices through Apple's repair program. These devices were received from Hong Kong and mailed to UPS mailboxes in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area. They then submitted the fake iPhones with spoofed serial and IMEI numbers. Both Apple retail and Apple authorized service providers, and evidence showed that they submitted more than 5,000 inauthentic iPhones that have caused a loss of more than $3 million to Apple. And they were arrested in 2019. It took this long to finally get them convicted here. So, and then they're going to get their sentence in June of 2024 here. And then recently, a security researcher was thanked by Apple in OS patch notes just days after being indicted in a scheme that would allow them to steal millions of dollars worth of Apple products, gift cards, and services. So they're keeping an eye on this stuff, and people don't be thieves. What do you think, Jeff?
Oh, yeah, don't be thieves. There, if you have the mental capacity to come up with a system as clever as this, even though it was flawed, you should be putting your efforts to make a better world, not rip off people and companies.
Yep. How about you, Ben?
criminals, if you try to defraud anything through the mail, the Postal Service will find you.
They will.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
The mail cops do not mess around.
No, they have no sense of humor at all.
No.
Nope. This week was the return time for the Vision Pro. So far, the return rate for the Apple Vision Pro was pretty low. As polarizing of a product that there is obviously some returns of Apple Vision Pro headsets. So far, the narrative has been they're being returned in droves. Apple retail appears false, where opinions of the product are wide-ranging, and they are on Apple Vision Pro. You got to expect some disappointments from some. With the disappointments come returns, and that was pretty generous of Apple, honestly. 14 days for something of $3,500. And they were seeing a lot of people were saying things like it was it was giving them headaches. It wasn't feeling well. It's really heavy, and all those other reasonings on that. But maybe a buyer's remorse because it's so much money. And some might have an immediate biological incompatibility with the headset. So I think it's definitely interesting to see where it goes. Again, we've talked about this. It's a version 1.0 product. I mean, if you got $3,500 to burn, or I should say $4,000 after all it's said and done, then kudos to you. But I'm not ready to buy it. I got to demo it. I know you did, Jeff. So what do you think of this?
Of course, there's going to be returns.
Right.
This was a completely new product category, and my guess is that at least some of the people that are choosing to return their Vision Pros have never worn a VR headset, so they had no basis for comparison, and having any weight on their head at all, they were probably thinking, "Oh wow, this is not what I expected. It weighs more than I thought," and they were out, and
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah.
But the whole thing with these are being returned in droves, I haven't seen any evidence to back that up.
Yeah. No, it doesn't seem like it. There wasn't a lot of press on this. I just thought it was interesting to even mention this. What do you think, Ben?
I mean, there's going to definitely be biological incompatibilities.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I mean, with myself, I have to have certain accessibility features on, not to trigger my my motion sickness on my iPhone.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is like Jeff said, it's a brand new product category. It's something we are not used to, and it is as close to a public beta as Apple will give for a device. This is probably not going to be mainstream for another couple years. So some returns, yeah, they're going to be happening. But I have to say, from what I've heard, they're probably lower than I would expect.
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
I think so. A couple more stories before we wrap up here. This was interesting. Apple's now launched a monthly replay experience. They were doing this yearly. This is a monthly version for Apple Music, the replay, allowing subscribers to actually see statistics about their listening habits on a more regular basis. The new Apple Music Replay variant offers more granular version of the full annual version that they were offering at the end of the year, which takes a retrospective look back at the user's entire year of consumption. This monthly version will feature and show total number of listening minutes and for the previous month, the top artists and songs and albums, as well as monthly milestones. I don't know if I should admit this or not, but my wife shares Apple Music with me, and every single song was Taylor Swift.
You know, that's okay. Good for you. At
Haters
least
are
you
just
have
gonna hate.
Oh.
At least you have something that in your stats where you can say,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, I know what this is."
I knew
My
right away
stat,
as soon as I saw. I mean, every single song on the list is Taylor Swift.
that's awesome. Yeah, for me, the stats are worthless because when I'm working during the day, I'm streaming from Apple Music, but I'm streaming music that's just coming from their curated
There you go.
playlists. Oh my God, it's true. And
I have it on camera here.
yeah, I mean the stuff that I'm listening to, it's like ambient music, sometimes like I don't know, casual electronic stuff where I don't actually have to focus on it. It's just sound. So my stats all year long, when I look at them, I'm like, I have no idea what any of this is. I don't know these artists. I couldn't identify any of these songs.
Yeah.
But apparently I've listened to this one 40 times. So
Yeah.
I would take a list of Taylor Swift over that any day.
Before I get to you, Ben, I have to go to the chat here. That's Brett made some comments here in our YouTube chat here. I'm not there often enough to notice the difference between. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. I'm looking forward to all the zeros I'll have on my summaries since Apple Music never works for me. And then Brett just said, just shake it off, Dave.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, nice one, Brett. What do you think, Ben?
Apple, I know I'm listening to a bunch of Rat.
You know, we're sitting here bagging on this,
No,
but at the same
I
time,
like
this
it.
is smart. Or okay, we're making fun of it, but this is smart. Apple needs to be doing everything they can to compete directly with Spotify and
Mhm.
do everything that Spotify does, but do it better.
Yeah. Plus, this probably helps the artists with analytics on their end.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So, three more stories here. Just want to get through here. MLS season passes returns, and it's going to have multi-view as well as more messy. That's and so many games at once, and it's now on the iPad too. As fans of Major League Soccer are no doubtly aware, the Wednesday this week marked the kickoff of the new season, and it's the second season with as Apple being their media partner. The biggest new feature of it is undoubtedly the addition to Lionel Messi as from Inter Miami, as well as new features Apple added. But the multi-view is going to be something interesting to see. I'm not a big MLS fan, and it was nice to get a free subscription last year from T-Mobile. Apparently, T-Mobile's not has not partnered this year with them, so I guess I won't be watching it.
Apparently, T-Mobile decided to invest their money in keeping their network up.
Yeah, exactly.
So
So
Messi, based on what you're saying, I gather that's a person.
it is one of the world's renowned soccer players, or football,
Yeah.
if you want to call it.
Yeah. It is he is like the association football's LeBron.
He doesn't know what LeBron is either.
There's like someone that everyone in sports is like, oh my God, that guy, right?
He's a basketball player, LeBron James.
Oh, okay. I was going to guess football.
Yep.
American football.
Go ahead, Ben. What do you think?
The second greatest basketball player of all time after Jordan.
Yeah, there you go.
I
But,
know
I
that
mean-
name.
Michael
He had the
Jordan.
tennis shoes,
But I
Basketball
mean,
shoes.
honestly,
basketball shoes.
the funny thing here, I think this is going to help the MLS, but I think it's going to help them more outside the United States.
Yeah, I think so. So it's interesting. I'll definitely say that. What's also interesting is the top 7 best-selling smartphones last year in 2023 were all iPhones. Apple iPhone models were dominating in the top 10 of selling of smartphones in 2023, with only Samsung's mid-range device making the list, according to Counterpoint Research's monthly handset model sales tracker. The top 10 were the iPhone 14, the 14 Pro Max, the 14 Pro, the 13, the 15 Pro Max, 15 Pro, 15, and then you got 3 Galaxy models that are so old and so like low end, only because they're cheap. And this is a first for Apple, and iPhone 14 models has made up the the top three. So obviously people were buying them because they're a little less expensive. Nice to see. I think Apple with iPhones is starting to become a little more dominant outside of the United States. Than with looking at something like this. What do you think, Jeff?
I find this absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
And I want to know the method for deriving these numbers
Yeah,
Mhm.
because
that's the
it's
interesting
not
part.
coming from Apple.
No, definitely not.
But oh, it's Counterpoint. I should have looked at that. Okay.
Yeah,
So Counterpoint is using a mixture of customer surveys and activity tracking to come up with their numbers. So all right, at least now I know the black box system for that. But
Yep.
I find this absolutely interesting that that of the top 10 globally, it's iPhones. I would have expected that in the US, but not globally.
Yeah. No, this is
Yeah.
globally, and it also does say the Counterparts research backs up previous data from market research firm IDC, which showed Apple overtaking Samsung as the top global smartphone manufacturer in 2023, shipping more phones annually than Samsung did for the first time. So 2023 was a very good year for the iPhone, apparently, if you believe all this. What do you think, Ben?
Um, this is probably going to be a very US centric view on this.
Yep.
Um, I'm surprised the only Samsung phones on here are the A series.
They're low end.
The S series, which is the iPhone's greatest rival worldwide, are absolutely nowhere to be found.
Yeah, it's interesting. Very interesting. So good stuff. Good stuff. And lastly, I wanted to talk about this. This just actually came out today as we record this, or yesterday. The top, it was about the FDA and the blood glucose statement that the FDA said this was actually it was today. As we record there, the FDA's blood glucose measurement statement yesterday seemed on the face of it to be bad news for anyone hoping to see the future in a future Apple Watch. Basically, their statement was saying that do not use smartwatches or smart rings to measure blood glucose levels. Simple safety communication. Um, that was pretty blunt and to the point. And it also says do not buy smartwatches or smart rings that claim to measure blood glucose levels. But it relates to current devices, not future ones, because none of these devices really have any ways of measuring your blood glucose level accurately without having to be intrusive into your skin to actually uh, pull out the blood. I mean, I use a Dexcom G7, which is a small little disc that goes onto your arm, and the app that goes with it, and it works wonderfully. I can able to monitor my blood glucose levels, and many other people do, and it's getting better. It had its growing pains. They've had previous versions of that, so you at least have something now that you can have continuous measurements that's not as intrusive as some like having to carry around a little pad pack with you or whatever.
Mhm.
But I can't wait to see what Apple comes up with the Apple Watch because I mean there is technology out there that could measure it without having to be as intrusive as I mean it's a little needle that goes in, but it stays on for 10 full days until you have to change it out with the G7. But yeah, I think this was fascinating to see that if Apple comes up to it. I've been waiting for years to see if they would come up with this, and you know, the FDA, I don't blame the FDA. You got to protect the public, and yeah, don't rely on that if you can't even do it. But the problem is none of these devices do it, so I don't know where they're coming from. But what do you think, Jeff?
Well, there are products out there that are claiming to be able to do non-intrusive or non-invasive blood glucose level monitoring, and I'm sure that there are pharmaceutical companies, medical device companies
Right.
that have developed technologies that they have presented to the Food and Drug Administration,
Yeah.
but yeah, the technology isn't there yet. So what I see happening, which is there's no risk in making this guess, which is that
Yeah.
these companies will continue to work on these products and find new ways to improve the accuracy. And in the meantime, if Apple decides whatever they're doing is is good enough to be able to offer value to users, then it can get rolled into the watch
Yep.
or something else. But the approach Apple will take is this is not actually monitoring for you. This is going to give you an alert if it appears that you have gone out of range, too high or too low, for uh, a set amount of time, and then you just get an alert.
Mhm.
So so not something that's actually purporting to be a medical diagnosis,
Right.
but instead is like your step counter on your watch. It doesn't need to go through FDA approval.
No.
It's just giving you a number, and this could be treated in a similar way.
Right.
And then you pull out your portable test kit and jab your finger and do an extra reading.
And that's what I do with this, because sometimes you wonder if this is accurate. So then
Mhm.
from time to time you
Oh,
do
right.
that.
Yes. You have something that's medical grade, FDA approved, and you still have to prick your finger every now and then just to
When you
make
see the
sure
numbers
that
are
you're
being
getting the
weird,
data you
then
expect.
you want to make sure that it's not way off. Sometimes it
Mhm.
has been. You have the final word, Ben, before we wrap up. Go ahead.
There is nothing I want to do more than not have to stick my finger 4 times a day.
Yep.
And well, you can see here, there's a little bit of me left on the meter. So having something that at least give me an alert that my blood sugar is out of whack,
Yep.
would be nice. I mean, granted, I want every diabetic wants something that is non-intrusive,
Right.
because yeah, putting a needle into your skin and making yourself bleed is not fun.
No.
But at the same time, honestly, I want the FDA to make Apple work for it. Well,
Oh, for
and
sure.
other companies.
Mhm.
I want to make sure if there's a non-intrusive way of doing it, it will give me about the same reading that my Vario does.
Yep. Yep. So it's gonna be interesting to see where it goes. I definitely say for sure. I'm hoping for it too. I think I've been waiting for a long time to see what happens with the Apple Watch. Obviously, they have the challenges still with the patent issue with the blood oxygen, and and they even say that isn't as accurate as you think it is. It's pretty close, but you just got to be aware that it's not. Some medical professionals will probably say you probably want to get a second opinion of a real measurement before you confirm that this is the truth. But it's come pretty gosh darn close. That's for sure. All right, what a great show this week. We had a lot of great discussions, and I really appreciate everybody listening and appreciate you guys being here to walk through this with me this week. And we had a lot of fun here. So let's go ahead and wrap up for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, which is feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Mastodon at intouchwithios at techhangout.social. Support the show by buying me a coffee at intouchwithios.com/coffee. We would really appreciate it. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/intouchwithios. We have 2 tiers available to support the show. We would really appreciate it. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you're notified when we are live streaming, which is on Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. Thanks again to Brian and Brett and others that were in the chat this week. This is on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/intouchwithios, where you can watch the current live stream as well as the past live streams and listen to past shows. Visit In Touch with iOS magazine on Flipboard, where many of the topics we discussed are flipped into that magazine. The link is in our show notes. You can subscribe to the show in your favorite podcatcher, including Pocket Casts, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, and many others. But better yet, just go to our website, which is intouchwithios.com, where all the links and all the ways to listen to us are on that website. I am Dave Ginsberg, and you can find me on Mastodon at DaveG65 at mastodon.cloud. Jeff Gamet, thank you so much for being here this week. I really appreciate it as always. How do people
Dave
find you?
Ginsberg, you were just awesome. And thank you for letting me come hang out again.
Yes.
All right. So on social medias, I'm Jay Gamet. I am active right now on Mastodon, Instagram, and Threads. Then for shows, Chuck Joyner's Mac Voices Live on Tuesdays, here on Dave's show, In Touch with iOS on Thursdays. Then the Big Show and the Mac Show on the British Tech Network. And so that would be Thursdays and Fridays. Then Brian Chaffin and I record the Context Machine as well.
Great. And Ben Rathick, as always, I'm so always thrilled that you're here every week and appreciate it. Where can people find you?
Well, Dave, you can find me on social media at Ben Rathig. You can find my writings. I'm working on a couple new things this week at rathig.tech. On Tuesday nights, you can find me on Mac Voices Live with Mr. Chuck Joyner, excuse me. On Thursday and Fridays, you can find me on the British Tech Network on the Big and Mac shows. And of course, you can always find me here on In Touch with iOS.
All right. Thank you, Ben. Thank you for listening, everybody. We really enjoyed doing this show, and we continue on to give you some great stuff, and we'll have another show next week. But until then, thanks for listening, and we'll talk again soon. Thank you, guys.
Well, that was fun, as always.
We always do a good show.
Oh, this is interesting.
What's that?
Oh.
I had to keep myself in check. I kept feeling like I wanted to get ranty about everything.
No.
Yeah.
I blame the fact that that I washed myself out of a couch until tomorrow.
Oh.
Get a hairdryer or something. You could just hand dry it.
Yeah.
Well,
So
I mean,
funny
it's
thing
Colorado.
is,
It'll be dry tomorrow.
yeah. So today's last story actually got me reminding myself that I need Lancets. And Walgreens finally has generic Lancets
Really?
for a one-touch Delica.
My insurance covers it for $0, so
Yeah, well, I don't currently have it, but it's extra fine 33 gauge for $11 instead of 18.
Oh, sorry. You've been talking about the Lancets. Those are the strips.
Yeah, the Lancets. Oh yeah, I have like a 3-year supply of test strips.
And they put a date on it, which is weird.
Yeah.
When my dad got his test kit, there was like, I want to say like a 6-month stretch. Every time we'd go over to my parents' house, he'd grab your hand and stab it and check your blood glucose level for you.
Really?
It's like, come on, Dad.
That's funny.
I'm not the one with age-induced diabetes here.
Too funny.
Oh no, we got to do this. And I think it was
There are people.
part
who
of
do
it
that.
was the novelty, but part of it was misery loves company. He hasn't checked my my blood glucose level in a long time, and I do appreciate that.
That is quite nice of him.
And my fingertip appreciates that he's not doing it now.
Yeah,
Mine does too. But having this,
just
in my
imagine having to do it 4 times a day.
I can, and I don't like that that fantasy at all.
Yeah.
No, it sucks.
Yeah, hence why there is dried blood on my meter.
Yeah. Yeah, your meter has battle damage.
Yeah, because the funny thing is, I just found a bad batch of test strips,
Mm-hmm.
which, it takes a couple strips to realize, oh, these are all bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to stick myself 5 times to get a reading.
Oh, that sucks.
Oh yeah.
Hey, speaking of Bad Batch, Ben, those first
Yes,
3
I know.
episodes, if you haven't watched them yet, you need to.
I will.
check this out. Let's say goodbye to live stream, everybody. Bye live stream.
By live stream. I will not give you any